This episode is brought to you by HP Plus. In a world full of smart devices, isn't it about time your printer got smart too? Now printing is smart with HP Plus, and the HP Smart app is how it all happens. You can print from your phone with just a tap, no matter where you are, even from your garage/home office/yoga studio. Huh, that is smart. HP Plus. Learn more about smart printing at hp.com/smart.
Life is full of things to manage. Your work, your family, your plans, and your treatment. Consider Kesimpta, ofatumumab 20 milligram injection. You can take it yourself from the comfort of home. If you're ready for something different, ask your healthcare provider about Kesimpta and check out the details at kesimpta.com. Brought to you by Novartis Pharmaceuticals Corporation.
What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you guys are so excited. I hope you guys are so ready for the most impactful hour you have ever received in your entire life, filled with hope, positivity, encouragement, inspiration, motivation, and elevation, baby. So pull up a chair, pour up a couple of shots, let your hair down, and kick your shoes off because you are about to receive the most impactful hour in your entire lives. I know you guys are ready because I know I am, and I can't wait, baby. Let's go!
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is CeeLo Green, and you are now tuned in to Joseph Jaffe is Not Famous. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. He is not famous at all. Check out this new streaming show. It is perfect. And if you don't, fuck you.
There was one guy I was dealing with getting a little bit pissy over the kid interrupting the call thing, and I'm like, appreciate it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, please. Yeah.
My bad. Please continue. It's very alliterative.
They are going to be the ones powering the experiences that every customer has.
Preference has power. I'm pretty sure Kato would say to me when I do every show, stop.
I think he would.
Those peeps are popping. Wait till you get the invoice.
Here. I have a question. When's the last time you danced? When's the last time you laughed?
Right now.
I
don't want to dance with you.
When's the last time you flew a kite?
Toasted Oreo.
Look at you. You are insane.
How did I do that?
You're insane. You're insane.
Well, I have to say, as I'm watching the start of the show, I'm looking at Leslie M. Leslie, you're kind of like, you are the M, you are the Q to my James Bond. And she's smiling, and so if she's smiling already, then I'm smiling too. I'm also smiling because Denise is watching. Denise Yoon, previous guest on the show. She said, so glad to see you back here. And Manif says, you're insane, according to Mark Schaefer. Indeed, I am. As you all know, watching the show, that QR code means something right now. So point your phone and follow instructions, and I'll tell you more in just a brief moment. After I welcome Powerful Peanut to the show. Powerful Peanut, I do not have an allergy towards you. Hello and welcome. So glad that you are here as well. I know I'm crazy and I'm insane. But before we continue, I just want to say to all my Jewish friends, including myself and including Leslie, Shana Tova, Happy New Year. I did not do a show last night because I was eating apples and honey for a sweet, sweet New Year. They say that on Rosh Hashanah it is determined what the year ahead is going to look like. And I paid attention this year. Last year, clearly I wasn't paying attention. Clearly, right? Clearly, who will live and who will die, who will be sick. Me, the sick one. But clearly I was meant to be back with you guys. And I'm just so glad to be here as well. Apples and honey, Powerful Peanut. And Andy Foote is here. Hello. Welcome to the show. It is going to be an amazing, amazing show. But first of all, as I do with every show, I just want to say thank you to all of you. Thank you for the messages from Denise to, and even Glenn is here. And Glenn normally doesn't like, he turns into a pumpkin I guess, at 9 o'clock at night. Chris Channel or Chanel, I'm just kidding, says hi. There's so many people watching. And Anthony Calumet, Anthony, I'm teaching, maybe inspired by you, my friend. I'm teaching at 3 different schools at the moment because I'm an idiot. Western Connecticut State University, NYU, and West Virginia University. It is an absolute bugger to have to travel to all 3. I'm just kidding. The one is online. I'll let you work out which one. But I'm glad you are here as well. Shana Tova. And again, thank you to everyone for all your amazing support during this tough time. It is National Ampersand Day, and I love National Ampersand Day. I celebrate generally. No, I don't celebrate it at all. But the point about the ampersand, as so many times in my presentations, it's all about balance, right? It's all about the left and the right. It's all about, branding and direct marketing. It's all about being able to find and build a bridge between sometimes what seems like 2 polar opposites or extremes. Anthony, by the way, says your guest is one of my favorite people in the universe. And she's just blowing kisses right now. I can't even bring her on, but trust me, I think she thinks the same about you, my friend. So for those of you that are new to the show, that QR code, in fact, here are the instructions. You just really need to point your phone towards that QR code, and you will get a Jaffe coin. I have a crypto coin, a creator coin called the Jaffe coin. And pretty much, I wanted to make sure that I could reward you guys for watching the show live. That's it. And so all you got to do is follow those instructions. They're fairly self-explanatory. But really what happens is, you need to be on rally.io. And in fact, even if you go to rally.io and you sign up and you buy 1 Jaffe and send it to me, well, I'm going to send you back 3. I mean, where else do you actually get 3 for the price of 1? That's what you're going to get. Plus, you'll get a Jaffe coin every time you watch the show, because we are in the streaming era. We are in the creator economy. And ladies and gentlemen, I am absolutely all in. I'm all in tonight to welcome Leslie M. Tomorrow, Dan Pontefract. Leslie is a swagger coach. I mean, how cool is that? She's an author, she's a speaker, and she's one of Anthony Calumet's favorite people in the world. And then after Leslie, we're going to meet just an incredible woman, Janetta Barry. She is a creator, but she's also the founder of World Jenny's Day. I'm going to give you a little bit of a sneak preview in terms of what you can expect. It's both heavy and light. It is both serious, but also just incredibly inspiring. I am inspired by Janetta, and here's a little promo for later in the show.
Hi, my name's Janetta Barry, and I'm founder of World Jenny's Day. And World Jenny's Day came about after my 16-year-old daughter Jenny and I had an enormous argument one day, and she took herself off and killed herself. It was a big journey, but coming through it, and the other side, we realized that 10th of October when she died is World Mental Health Day, and we now have World Jenny's Day. And through the use of theatre and the arts, we celebrate mental health wellness. Looking forward to chatting to you some more about it. Bye.
And you will meet Janetta Barry shortly on the show. Well, now it's time to get to our seated soliloquy. But before we do that, a little hello to Mr. Harold Kravitz in Australia. Anthony, by the way, adds, he says, you have so much to give and share. You know what? We can... whatever we think we have more. We've got it is a limitless account that we can withdraw, the ability to give, the ability to share, no doubt. Even Jaffe coin as well. Manif says, well, actually, Glenn was saying, I'm rich with Jaffe coin. Good, buy some more. And Manif says, wow, such strength, referring to you, Janetta. So today's seated soliloquy, as always, is always inspired by my guest. And that's why we're going to talk about confidence today something that is very much connected to the whole concept of swagger. I think about confidence a lot. As a parent, I want nothing more than for my kids to have the kind of self-confidence that propels them to great heights. Self-assuredness or self-belief is just so important. And by the way, I'm not sure if the three terms I just mentioned are actually all synonyms for one another. Perhaps my guest tonight, Leslie M, will help clarify that for me. One way I think about confidence is from a sporting standpoint. Using the English Premier League, I always marvel at how the first 3 or 4 games of a season can literally mean the difference between a team capable of winning the league versus one that spends the entire season fighting to avoid relegation. On a personal note, I really hope this is true this year because my team is currently top of the table and our arch enemy is at the bottom. Come on, you Spurs. But here's where it gets interesting. Oftentimes, it's a bit of luck that is responsible for the early good or bad form. An injury, a red card, a penalty, an own goal, a good or bad refereeing call, a shot that hits the post or the crossbar, and the rest, as they say, is history. So what's actually going on here? Is it really about confidence or is it about momentum? And then there's the idea of overconfidence, which I'd define as confidence that does not have a basis or foundation to exist at the level in question in the first place. But hang on a second. Surely there's a difference between justified and unjustified overconfidence? Perhaps. But hubris, either way, has a sneaky way of biting us all in the butt at one point in time in our lives or another. So I guess the point of this soliloquy is that swagger needs to come with a warning that reads, professional driver, closed course, do not try this at home unless you have a coach like my guest tonight. It's not as easy as it looks, but on the upside, we all have the power and potential to harness it. At least, I hope that's true. See what I just did right there? Life is too short to be insecure, even if you're short. Life is too short to suffer from imposter syndrome, especially when there are so many imposters out there. So instead, let's channel our inner badass so that we can live the kind of authentic life that we all so richly deserve. And now it's time to understand how we can live that life that we so richly deserve, how to unleash our inner badass. It's time for Leslie M. She's a former TV host turned swagger coach, speaker, and Wall Street Journal, USA Today, and Amazon #1 best-selling author of swagger. Leslie M has discovered the secret to tapping into your authentic self and turning it into a superpower for unleashing everything that you are at work and in life. For the last 14 years, she's traveled the globe with her award-winning company Combustion, training senior execs and teams from Fortune 100 companies like Google, PepsiCo, Uber, Disney, TD Bank, Lenovo, and many more companies that clearly you haven't heard of before, right? She's turned technologists into creative forces, bankers into storytellers, and has brought a serious dose of badassness to boardrooms everywhere. Leslie has been called better than therapy, a rock star, ass-kissing, a force of nature, and my personal favorite, she's even been called a witch. Well, I hope she doesn't cast the bad kind of spell on us. Please watch this. How's that for an intro?
That's quite something, huh? You got to bring your own hype, you know? You got to bring your hype with you wherever you go.
I know, and I've got more hype for you if you want it as well.
Big up.
We want to
How
say
you doing?
I'm good. You know, I want to say hello to Rose, who is watching as well. And Anthony. Well, now you can at least talk directly to him, but he's not happy because he, of course, is a supporter of the team that is at the bottom of the table. And Leslie, do not tell him or do not tell that team how they can get their swagger back, please.
I don't know if you can sort of pay me to be an unswagger coach, though. I don't think that's part of my repertoire. It's just not in my DNA. I'd be like,
right,
go team, you can do it. You got this.
Well, then we'll just focus on the team that is at the top, or we'll just leave it right now. But I'm thrilled that you are guest number 275. I call it in this little crazy experiment of mine called how I pivoted myself and became a talk show host. And you know, that is like literally how I describe myself now. If you said, what do I do for a living? Well, it depends who it is. You know, when it's my mom now, I say I'm a talk show host, and she actually knows for the first time what I do for a living. It's amazing.
Listen, if you dream it, you can do it. There's nothing stopping you. That's the beautiful thing. You created this. And look at you, 275 shows. That's pretty badass.
I know. Thank you. And I'm just getting started. And one of the things that I started, which actually I've really started to love, is what I call fun facts. You know, and fun facts has just become a way that, as I say, that I can embarrass my guests. But I have a feeling that you are not easily embarrassable, if that's even a thing.
So not. If you follow me on social, you will know that I embarrass myself on a regular basis. So I figure I do it before anybody else does, and then I'm kind of bulletproof.
So how many of you guys knew these fun facts? So first of all, that Leslie is a sanctioned amateur boxer, and she has actually fought in the ring in front of 900 people at a black tie event to raise money for cancer research. Well, first of all, well done for doing that and raising money for cancer research. You know, I didn't think you knew that we actually found a real photo of you in that boxing match. You look amazing.
I'm liking my guns in that. I'm feeling my guns. I'll take it.
So like what has been being an amateur boxer, what has that taught you about this world that we live in, right? In business, it's not about, you know, physical pounding, and yet there is pounding that can take place. How have you are there similarities, comparisons, lessons learned from being in the ring and in business?
So many lessons. I swear, when I started to learn how to box, I was posting these little hashtag boxing wisdoms because I could see the parallels on so many levels. I mean, one of the things that we learn is, you know, boxing is like playing chess with your body. So you always have to be planning a step ahead. And you cannot, as soon as I talk about boxing, my fists go up. But as soon as you throw a punch, you can't worry about where that punch is going to land because it's too late. It's already out of the gate. You know, it's there. So you have to be thinking, how am I now going to move my body to anticipate the response of my opponent and then set up for the next punch? So you're always thinking one step ahead, which is exactly what we need to be doing in business, as opposed to agonizing and watching that punch land and then go, uh-oh, now what I do? Well, it's too late if you do that. So it's always about anticipating and planning. And you can't worry about it once it's done. Once it's done, let it go and move on to the next moment. Other things that are important to know is that you can really take a good punch in the face and bad things don't happen to you. You know, we're also afraid of what might happen to us if we get some pushback from the world. And so we're so terrified to try lest we fail or we get knocked down. And what we learn again in boxing is that the only thing that is a problem is not getting up again. So you take, you got to know that you can take a punch and it doesn't drop you like a stone. You know, you take it and you go, oh, that wasn't so bad. Okay, good. You know, so it's really about facing your fears and about understanding just how much you have that you never imagined that you had in your tank. You know, I had no idea what I could really, really, really do from a physical perspective until I started really training to be a boxer, because it's hardcore. It's hardcore.
I love, there were so many amazing things in what you just said. And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't add one more insight to that little, vignette, which of course is the Mike Tyson quote, which is, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. But that obviously opens up the other thing, which is you got to have a plan. You are playing chess, but then you also have to expect the unexpected, and you also have to be able to think on your feet, the contingency plan. But the thing that you said that I just really loved was this idea that, you know what, you can actually take a punch, but you'll never know until you take the punch. You'll never know. You'll never know if you've got a glass jaw, or if you could be like, hey, wait a second, I'm the shit, like I can do it.
I cannot tell you how many people I encounter who are paralyzed because they're imagining the worst thing that could happen, but it's so completely out of context and unrealistic. They will stay in place lest they move towards something that they think might be difficult, or might be, dangerous to their status or dangerous to their position. And they will literally stay paralyzed. And my advice is, you know what? Go let life punch you in the face a bunch of times and see that nothing bad really happens. We need context, That's the key to so much of the stuff that keeps us stuck, is like, dude, you need some context. Because if that's the worst thing that's really going to happen to you, your life is great. When I listen to people's fears and they talk about their fears, and they're very real fears, but I go, in the big scheme of things, that's something that even if it happened, you'd still be fine. So what's the big deal?
It's funny. Well, first of all, I found out, by the way, Christophe Poupard is saying hello from France. I mean, those are your fans, right? They're at 3 a.m. right now.
Bonsoir, Christophe.
Comment ça va? Bien. Très bien. Anthony says he loves that Tyson quote as well. But, first of all, I found out that the saying, what doesn't kill me makes me stronger, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, that is actually attributed to Friedrich Nietzsche, believe it or not. That is a Nietzsche original, let me tell you. I'm not going to do a Monty Python skit. But my mantra, Leslie, like especially with my health, my crazy health story from this year, is you knock me down. It's so funny, right? You knock me down once, I'll get back twice. You knock me down twice, I'll get back 3 times. You knock me down 3 times, I'll get back 4. And it's this thing that just says, okay, fine. Sure, of course, an infection on top of heart surgery, on top of, like this crazy time that we're living through. But I'm just going to I'm conditioned now to just get the hell back up.
Yeah. My mother used to say that to me, when bad things would happen, or when I would have challenges and I would cry and whatever. And she said, well, your options are to lie down and die or get up and go. Those are your options. So what would you want to do? And I go, I guess I'm going to get up and go. She'd be like, yep, go get it, girl.
I like
and
that.
I mean,
I was going to say, maybe sometimes if we actually reduce our tough decisions to extreme binary ones, right? Mm-hmm. Instead of like the difference now of the ampersand, maybe it's not the ampersand anymore, but when the going gets tough, we can't have the best of both worlds. We got to choose a direction. And when it's quite simple what the two are, it's not like, an increment of one another. It's like live or die. Well, I mean, we're going to choose to keep going.
Yeah. I think that's also when you've worked in an entrepreneurial space, whether with an entrepreneurial mindset or actually running some kind of organization or your own thing, you start to understand that ethos pretty, vividly, because it represents the well-being of whatever it is that you're creating. Because bad things, can happen to you kind of externally, but your job is to just got to keep going and keep pushing. So, my mantra is, this is not a rehearsal, this life that we get. You know better than anyone else, Joe. Right now, you get one go around that, that carousel. And you got to make every single second of it count, because you don't get no do-overs. You don't get to do it all again. So you got to live it as big as you can from the jump, and you've got to continue with that, because there will come a time where you will regret not having done that. That's one of the things that people talk about in their latter years, the things that they regret is not going after life with the most authenticity and the most gusto and embracing all of those moments.
Inhale confidence, exhale doubt. So there's one more thing about you that I just wanted to touch on very quickly, and it's funny because there's an interesting common theme with you, which is speed, right? Whether it's speed to market, speed on your feet as an amateur boxer, but there's another thing about you, which is you can read 2,400 words a minute.
Yep.
So this is like, would you rather have I'm going to ask you, would you rather read 2,400 words a minute or have a photographic memory? And if you tell me that you have a photographic memory, I'm ending this interview right now, because you are truly not human.
I so don't have a photographic memory in any way, shape, or form. I mean, like in a lot of ways, I think I'm a sieve sometimes. I actually am a totally kinesthetic learner. I love to read, and I absorb books like nothing, but I actually learn more by doing than I do by reading, for sure. I tend to read for pleasure more, and I tend to do to learn more. That's the way my brain works, for sure.
Now, being able to read, so 2,400 words per minute. How long would it take you to read? How long would it take you to read Swagger?
Oh, not very long. Maybe
at that speed.
Maybe an hour and a half. Maybe an hour and a half.
And you process it.
Yeah.
It's all.
Yeah, I mean, I do find when I read nonfiction, when I read business books, I read them in little bursts. I don't inhale a whole book, but like, for example, I was at my cottage and I was sitting out on my boat, and I read a novel and a third in like a 3.5 hour period.
Okay, I'm definitely going back to the fact that you are superhuman. Here's another common theme: the idea of training, right? Training yourself to be a better boxer or better on your feet. Training yourself to read, I guess, faster. Training yourself to adopt swagger, right? To be more confident. I'm so intrigued by this book. Because as I said, in my soliloquy, I spoke about this idea of self-confidence. We talk about self-love. We talk about self-help, self-care, but self-confidence, self-assuredness, all the selves. This is clearly something that can be trained, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Like anything, it is a journey. But I want to just clarify, because a lot of people, when they hear the word swagger and we're talking about confidence, they think that I'm talking about the kind of swagger that is that show-offy, in your face, arrogant, peacocky, external thing, and that is not my definition of swagger. My definition is the ability to manifest who you really are and hold on to it in the face of all of that psychological crap that's going to come for it, regardless of the situation or environment. So it means that you show up with one face, one heart, one truth, and it doesn't matter who you're with or what's going on around you or what the situation is. You are one unique and authentic human who is not changed by the things that are going on around them. That is what swagger is. So swagger is even more about self-acceptance than it is about self-assuredness, because self-assuredness will come as a result of that self-acceptance.
I love it. I mean, I am self-acceptance. That's got to be at the highest level of what I would call the new Maslowian hierarchy. It's not about self-actualization, but self-acceptance. It's funny, and I'm glad you brought it up, and I'm glad you clarified it as well, because I sometimes get very inspired, and I come up with not just one quote, but two. So I found two quotes. Let me show you the two. And I'm going to actually, I'm going to start off with the one that is probably further away from your definition. The definition of swagger is you have to have that arrogance, that confidence that you are the best out there, and you have to have that at all times. So the arrogance, and this is Keyshawn Johnson.
I don't know if I would agree with that one. I think that in some ways goes against the ethos of my interpretation of swagger. But that doesn't make it wrong. It's just different than my interpretation of what swagger is. Doesn't make it wrong.
So now I'm going to give you the second definition or the second quote. Swagger is a confidence of you knowing you work hard for your success. You can't develop swagger if you haven't worked hard for that success.
Yes.
And that is Amari Stoudemire. And I found it interesting that both of these quotes, when looking, and many more, are coming from athletes. So here we are back to the boxing as well. Why do you think that why do you think so many athletes would be talking about swagger as opposed to a musician or, a rock star like our friend Brent Menswar or a CEO of a company? What's the connection between athletes and this beautiful word of swagger?
I mean, I would guess it's because of the level of performance that is expected at all times, and there is really no room for error. And you have to instill such confidence in your fans. They have to believe that you're going to deliver the goods for them, as do your teammates all the time. So they have to believe that you believe in yourself and that you're not going to be a weak link in the chain, and it's going to be good for everyone. So there's a massive amount of self-belief that has to happen when you're operating at those levels. If you walk around thinking that you're going to fail, then you do become the weaker link in that chain. So I think that it's not, when we talk, we're talking so much about confidence and self-belief, but the problem with this whole confidence paradigm is that the thing that we're aspiring to, this thing called confidence, you actually can't achieve legitimate confidence without having legitimate competence. Everyone goes into that fake it till you make it thing and stuff. It doesn't work. It's a fallacy, because the thing you're trying to fake is confidence, but confidence doesn't come unless you have massive competence. Only when you've done something over and over and over again and proven to your resistant brain that you got this and you can handle it, and you can be thrown into a whole bunch of different situations and you have the fundamental skills to achieve it. That's when you become unshakable. That's when you go, I got this, no matter what's going on, I got it. And when you're trying to fake it, what happens is you set yourself up for the imposter syndrome, because you're waiting for someone to find you out as not being truly competent, and they would be correct. And also when you're walking around telling everybody, I got this, I know everything, I can handle it, like I'm the shizzle, you limit your ability to actually ask for help. Because now you'd be outed as a liar, because you told everybody you got it, you know it, it's all good. But the only way that we gain the confidence that leads to confidence is by asking for help and putting ourselves out there and saying, I need to learn, I need to experience more, I need to grow. So it's a real fallacy, this whole fake it till you make it thing. And we really struggle to own where we are in our journey right now. Everyone thinks they should be further ahead. They compare themselves to everybody else. They think that everybody's doing more and better, and that they're smarter and more capable and more competent and more successful than they are. And they forget that everybody starts from a place of, I have no idea. Everyone starts from a place of, I got nothing. And we all will develop at our own pace. And we're not where we were 2 years ago, and we're not where we're going to be in 2 years. But we somehow experience shame around where we are in our journey. And we always want to pretend that we're further along, that we're better off than we are.
I have to give you the mid-interview applause. I thought that was amazing. There was so much in there, and I was thinking also, like, back to being a parent, as well, which is, you only realize how amazing your parents were when you become a parent, and you actually realize how clueless you are and how clueless they must have been, yet they never came across that way. But you'd never get that arrogance, right, from a parent. You'd never get and yet they have to project the self-assuredness. It's almost this interesting little contradiction as well. But
well, the thing that you want to go to when you don't have confidence yet, what you can always have is self-belief, because that does not require competence in any way, shape, or form. Self-belief is that unerring, unshakable feeling that you can take a step off the cliff, but you're not going to plummet to your death. You might, hit a few branches on the way down. You might bounce, you might fly, you might have an adventure. A lot of things might happen, but you're not going to die. And when you have that self-belief, you can step off the cliff and the ground magically has a way of coming up to meet your feet. Every time you take a step, the ground will meet your feet. But the secret to success is don't freaking look down. Because if you look down, you're going to see the drop. But if you have the courage to take the step forward, the ground will meet your foot, directly under your foot. And before you know it, you're walking out into the unknown. And that is what self-belief is the ability to walk out into the unknown and know that you're not going to die.
There's a lot to be said, and we, discussing hubris and arrogance versus humility. I thought this was interesting what Anthony said, which is, he said, I hate the word arrogance. I believe it was created by weak to describe the confident. It's an interesting one to think about. But, potato, I want to go back to that. You said they have to believe you believe in yourself. And I think that is also one of the strongest already, I would say, takeaways here. They have to believe that you believe. And we've seen good, we've seen bad, and we've seen ugly leaders who believe so strongly in themselves, whether that is justified or not, and it propels them forward, and nothing shakes them. And Leslie, it's something else that you said that I use all the time, which is I always describe, even what I'm doing with this show, you're walking on a tightrope, and I always say the minute that you stop, the minute you look down, the minute you look back, you will fall. Mm-hmm. So the best thing to do is to just keep on walking.
Yep.
Keep on moving, never stop. And that brings us back to the concept of momentum again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is that, for me, it's like movement versus paralysis. The thing that breaks my heart the most is when I meet so many people who really are paralyzed. They're paralyzed by fear or insecurity or by ambition or by pain or by their need for persona. And it keeps them very neatly trapped. And if you can't break through those blockers, you're never going to be able to see what's on the other side. So you stay trapped in this world of your this negative world of your own making. That's what I refer to as your swagger blockers. It's the stuff that keeps the real you trapped deep inside yourself, because you're terrified to show the world who you really are, lest those bad things that you imagine actually occur. But the result is that you think that you're protecting yourself, but really you're just in stasis. You're just paralyzed and stuck, and you never evolve and you never grow.
And interesting how right at the end there you spoke about the idea of evolving and growing. And isn't that part of the point, right? The point is that, and maybe that's why there's a big difference between the word, you use swagger and connecting it to your authentic self. Well, your authentic self is also a work in progress. Evolution and growth is all part of that authentic self. We can never be perfect, on the first go around, right? We are, by definition, works in progress.
We are perfectly imperfect, beautifully flawed humans. That is what we're supposed to be. That's the whole point right? It's the whole point is the discovery of self. It's the discovery of others. It's the curiosity. It's the acceptance, the compassion, the empathy, love. All of those things are so much more important than glossy, shiny. That's impenetrable. That is not what builds connection. It's not what builds trust. It's such a fallacy. It's a story that people tell themselves that the more shiny and glossy and perfect I am, the more I will be accepted. It's not true, because what in fact happens is people look at you and go, oh, okay. First of all, I don't trust that, because no one's like that. Or second of all, being around that person makes me feel bad about myself, because I know I'm perfectly imperfect and messy and flawed, and they seem to be perfect and have it all together. That does not make me love you. That makes me, very trepidatious about you. We want to be able to look at each other and go, oh my God, yes, me too. I always say to people, confess the mess. Tell everybody that you're a hot mess. Own what's fantastic and magical and beautiful and amazing about yourself, but also own the hot mess. And the people around you will go, oh my God, yes, me too. You're just like me. And now you have connection, you have trust. And from that, all good things happen. That's right. The environment where you can truly be yourself.
And the point about authenticity is then, you've got a guy like we were just talking, I had a conversation today about David Letterman. He was always so self-deprecating, right? He always would be, in a way, it was part of his shtick, that he was his own worst enemy. But that was his authentic self. Howard Stern's a little bit like that as well, in terms of being able to...
the opposite end of that spectrum.
But celebrate the insecurity and the anxiety and the neurosis or whatever the case may be. But I think to me, this concept that you talk about, strut over substance, that's not what we're trying to do here. We're not trying to, even though I know there are all these beautiful colors in my backgrounds as well, this isn't about the peacock. This isn't about peacocking, as much as it is being able to actually walk and talk and act with that self-belief, or, what was the word you used before? Self-acceptance.
Because listen, swagger shows up completely differently for every individual human being. There's not one way to manifest swagger. It's the manifestation of who you really are. So if you're an introvert, if you're geeky, or if you're intellectual, or if you're, if you're extrovert or whatever, it's going to show up like that. You're never going to tell yourself that you have to manifest in any other way than what is real for you. So all of that need to front, to have that persona just falls away. Because if you're, for example, intense or intellectual or more introverted, and the crappy people in your life say, you need to speak up more, and you need to, take up more space, and all the bullshit that people will say to people who are naturally more, more introverted. It's like, no. If an introvert has swagger, people will lean in to get the best out of them. People will come to them and pay attention to them. They do not have to take up more space. It is not authentic to who they are, and it's not necessary to who they are. But if they believe that they can speak their truth, then they will be heard just like everybody else, because everybody else will shut the F up when they're talking for a hot second and give them some space. That's what the world looks like when we're all living in our place of swagger, where we respect what is unique and magical and different about each other, because that's what gives us our power. We worry so much about all of this external stuff that we're trying to gather up to give us this thing called confidence, and the thing, personality, and all this bullshit. But the truth is, you already have everything that you need. All you got to do is believe it. You have everything that you need. And if you can tap into it and unleash it, that's when the world changes. So stop worrying about all the stuff you think you need and start looking at all the stuff you already are.
Well, I mean, if people are watching, you have everything you already need. You just have to believe it. except for that, that masterclass to learn how to cook like Gordon Ramsay.
We don't need to cook like Gordon Ramsay. Gordon Ramsay cooks like Gordon Ramsay. You want to order, get good food, get takeout.
We got Uber Eats. We don't need it. The last thing that I just and looks like people won't let you go here. Tiro Mollis, is it Mollis or Mollis? It is Mollis. Swagging or swaggering introverts. Now there's a sight to see. I want to just touch on that one final time because, Manif says, I heard an investor say, if you're nervous, then we're all nervous. Help us just reconcile very quickly this idea again of the swagging or the swaggering introvert and, as a public speaker getting nervous. How do we find the balance between the natural, humble, nervous, introverted self and then the perceived, confident, maybe even slightly brash outer self?
Mm-hmm. I think it's about a combination of hustle and humility. It is okay to be proud of yourself. It is okay to be nervous. By the way, according to the brain can't really differentiate between nervousness and excitement. So it's all about how you perceive it. Every time that I go on stage, even though I've been on stage for almost, my entire adult life, I started off as a singer and then I was a TV host and now I'm, training and speaking. I always get, you could call it nerves, but really it's excitement. It's adrenaline being pumped into the body because I need it. I need to turn my intensity up a little. So I don't worry about whether I do get nervous or I don't get nervous. I just stay in the moment and focus on the thing that I'm about to do and just channel it. And I'm like, oh, I'm all in. Let's go, And I think that, I know a lot of speakers. We know a lot of speakers, Joe, who are incredibly successful, who are massively introverted. And the introversion, there's a lot of mythology around introversion anyway. It's not about whether you can work a stage or carry a meeting or be in command of an organization. It's about how you regain your energy after you've done those things. You're going to need to go to your little quiet, happy place and regroup for a little while. You're not going to want to go out partying after the big investor meeting. You're going to want to go quietly and sit in the corner and regain your energy. But it doesn't mean that you can't be on when you need to be on. And sometimes people say, they use the excuse of being an introvert to say, well, I'm shy. I don't want to step out of my comfort zone. No, that's you not wanting to step out of your comfort zone. It's got nothing to do with introversion or extroversion, because extroverts are also afraid of many things. So I think, introverts, I think we need to understand them more. And also I push sometimes when I coach introverts, I go, no, that's not an introvert. That's not an introverted versus extroverted thing. That's a fear thing. That's a discomfort thing. It's a big difference.
Well, this is this 1 hour is just too short a time to have the wonderful Leslie M in the studio. You can find Leslie on Instagram, on Twitter, in Clubhouse. You can connect with her on LinkedIn. You need to go and buy Swagger. Unleash everything you are and become everything you want. Do it now. Leslie, we're going to let you go and get yourself a cup of coffee or an adult beverage while we welcome Janetta Barry. This has been an absolute pleasure. I will probably just leave us with Anthony Calumet, who says 10 words, 2 letters each. If it is to be, it's up to me. It's my truth. Thank you, Leslie, and we'll see you soon.
I'll see you, Joe.
All right, now it's time to bring on Janetta. And Janetta, I'm going to bring you on straight away and just say, first of all, when we talk about someone who is quiet, who might appear to be introverted, who just exudes humility, it would probably be you. But there's something else that maybe someone wouldn't say, and that is just an absolute rock. Strong, at least the perception, strong, resolute, powerful, and just an absolute beacon of light amidst what is a story that is almost apparent on I would say on the surface, the opposite of light. One of the things, and I'm so glad you are the first person in this creator segment, we're going to do a few different things now. And one of the things that we're going to do is actually start to have people tell their stories. So you don't have to be an artist or a singer or a comedian or a juggler or a, mentalist to be a creator. You can be a creator of content. You can be a creator of stories. We want this to be a place of stories. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to disappear. I'm going to have you tell your story. And then while you're doing that, I'll flash different ways that people can get in contact with you, that people can donate, that people can find out more just about this, this exceptional, I would just say, purpose and calling in your life. And of course, your beautiful daughter. So take it away.
Oh gosh, Joseph, thank you so much, and for the opportunity to be here and to interact and be with so many more people. My story really goes back to before Jenny, or what happened with Jenny. I used to be a motivational speaker, a sales motivational speaker, and I was pretty good at it. People would go away pretty fired up. And then I noticed after a while, they'd come back and say, we need another dose for another fix of Janetta. And I was going, wow, I'm their drug. That's not authentic. That doesn't feel at all good. Because they were having to come to me and artificially take my energy and my rah-rah because they perceived they couldn't do it for themselves. So I took myself off for quite a while and decided to work on my intuitive abilities. And again, I noticed that after a while, people were coming and saying, please intuitively tell us whether this or that is or isn't. And I go, but we've all got intuition. CEOs of top companies tell us how their gut feeling is their most valuable and accurate tool. So again, it felt like I was leaving people disempowered and that I was out of integrity. And it was round about this time that my greatest life test happened, because one day, whilst setting some very important safekeeping house rules at home with my daughter Jenny, she was 16 years old, and I was stepping forward and saying they just have to be there. It escalated into an enormous argument, and she took herself off to her room and committed suicide. And I have to be honest, it was the most, as I found her 15, 20 minutes later, I just knew that a whole load of things would have to happen, including me falling apart and possibly the family as well. It was like watching a movie in my mind as it went ching, 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 all these thoughts of, can I bring her back to life? Is she really dead? Thank goodness she's dead, because it was her fourth attempt. So, and when I say thank goodness she is, that she hadn't hurt herself. That was my biggest fear, was that she would really seriously hurt herself. At least she was not in pain. And so all these myriad of mixed emotions came up, and it was a really, really tough journey. Everything in my life went down to ground zero, absolutely everything. And prophetically, 9 months after Jen died, I found myself walking along a street mindlessly. Absolutely mindlessly. I felt as though I was living in this black emotional prison sentence, in a black hole. And that it felt like it was for the rest of my life. It really felt like there was no way to get out of it. And I knew somewhere that I needed to cross the road. And I got to the edge, and the traffic was going along, and I stepped out and somehow avoided being hit because I was very mindless. And I wove in between the traffic and got to halfway across the road, and then realized in that moment that I had forgotten I still had choice. it felt like there was only one way to go, because after all, what parent goes on and says, I've got through this. It's all over and I'm all right, because no loving parent wants to say that. So you go, or I went into this place of believing this was my lot. And then I went, no, I have got choice. And I wove through the rest of the traffic on the other side and stepped safely onto the other side. And in that moment, I knew I'd had what I call my crossing over moment. And at that point, I went, that's it. I will find accurate ways to get through this, not hit and miss, because that's what I was finding. I'd try one therapy or one modality after another where it would work one time and not the other. Same with Jenny, trying to work her through her difficult times. It was really like a hit and miss event. And so over the next few months and years, I started searching and studying and researching and walking the walk and talking the talk to get me through this, so that I could get to the other side and sit in a place like I am today, really authentically. Because don't get me wrong, I'm not sitting here saying, it's all okay. Yeah, no, it's fine, and nothing's wrong, and I'm fine now, and let's move on. Definitely not. This is a lifetime process, really. I'm here working it through. Anniversaries, especially difficult, but at the same time, with what I've worked with, because I fine-honed and brought this into a process that I call the epiphany process, I was able to embrace and acknowledge where there had been equal gain in this loss on all levels of my being, so that both stories of loss and gain were balancing each other out. And Joseph, I was just like, wow, when you were talking about the ampersand and balance, you're my man, because it's what I talk about all the time. And so I went, I was able to do that. And then a couple of years after she died, I found out that, I realized that Jenny had died on World Mental Health Day, which is the 10th of October. And so we now have World Jenny's Day on 10th of October. And what I love about World Jenny's Day is that it's not about having lots of talks about what's wrong with everybody when they're feeling depressed or compromised. It's a day that celebrates that first of all, it's a day that looks into what it's like to feel distressed or depressed or compromised or feeling out of sorts or not fitting in. What's that like? Because for some people, they haven't really gone down to that depth. So they sit there going, I just don't understand what the problem was. A bit like I was before I lost Jen. And then I went there after I lost her. So insight, a really heart-opening but warming insight into what that's like. Also, what it's like to be the carer of the people who feel like that, because that was me as a parent. I was clueless, totally lost as to how to handle Jenny with appropriate skills and tools. And so that's what we're addressing during the day. And then we're having a few discussion panels from people who have powerfully and accurately moved on, and bringing in the solutions, these really accurate solutions that one has and has the ability to find out and use, instead of going from a place of feeling that you're compromised for the rest of your life. And so it's more than just hope on that day. There's hope with certainty. So it's a celebration of mental wellness. And we're using theatre and the arts to do that, because it brings in such a subtle way of talking about quite a difficult subject, and leaves one with a deep impact it's a really wonderful way to step forward. And having done similar 3 years ago in a theatrical production, it was a no-brainer that we carry this into World Jenny's Day. So there's the story.
What an amazing story. If you want to support World Jenny's Day, just go to justgiving.com/crowdfunding/Janetta-Barry, and I've put that in the comments section. I'm going to bring Leslie back as well. And so it's just the three of us. Before I say anything, Leslie, do you have a question or a comment? I know you do.
Well, I mean, it's a completely heart-wrenching but heart-opening story, and I think the thing that's so amazing really is this recovery that you've been making, this journey that we talked about earlier, the fact that it's this ongoing journey, but that authenticity is at the core of it, and I have mad love for you and mad respect.
Oh,
so.
Leslie, thank you. Well, I think, we all have our own battles, and I've seen where you've stepped up with huge courage with the physical boxing side, and then brought it into this. And I just think, wow, what a lady. So thank you.
Well, you are certainly the living embodiment of, you have swagger, Janetta. There's no doubt.
No doubt.
And it's very inspirational. And, from you also, just listening to Leslie and then listening to you as well, you also had that binary choice, right? You also had a live or die, and you made it simple. Your crossing over moment, a different kind of crossing over, but in this case, crossing the road. We just want to say to people that are watching, please find out more about World Jenny's Day, and follow Janetta in Clubhouse, on Instagram, both her personal Instagram and also World Jenny's Day, as well as Twitter. We got a few final comments as well. Manif says, respect to the two superhumans and Joe on stage, truly inspired by your presence. Rose will share, and shalom, which, shalom to you, my friend. Greetings from Denmark. I thank you, three wonderful people. We just got some great comments, including Grace Holden, who I think it was Grace who introduced her. Was it Grace? No, it wasn't Grace. I think it was Patricia that introduced us. I'm so truly grateful for that. Mark Daly says, thank you, Leslie and Joe. Just so many comments coming in. I am very blessed and honored to have met both of you officially tonight, but I do feel like I've known you all my life, and we will continue to get to know one another. October 10th, I checked, is a weekend. But please, Janetta, contact me, because I will make sure that I continue to make you my unofficial sponsor leading up to October 10th. And we will remind people to get involved, to donate. We will also remind people that they need to go out and buy a swagger, because I feel like this is almost the soundtrack to our lives, written by Leslie M. Guys, thank you so much. And as you know, the show always ends with Chuck Norris, who gets to tell us whether you guys made the grade or not. And Chuck Norris has this to say about both of you.
You are Chuck Norris approved.
As if there was any doubt. We will be back tomorrow night at 9 with Dan Pontefract. Take care of yourselves, and thank you for a beautiful hour. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you for watching the show about hope, positivity, optimism, and if there's time left over, a little bit of marketing with your host, multiple author, and global keynote speaker, Joseph Jaffe. If you like the show, tell a friend or two. Please subscribe to the show, and if you want to get inside news, previews of upcoming guests, and much more, visit josephjaffe.com/subscribe to sign up for the show's newsletter.
And despite the best ministrations of your wife, you still look ugly.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.